I used my direct supervisor as the model for my novel, never expecting that he would actually read it. Please listen to my explanation. The fact that the main character's name is identical to yours is purely a coincidence. Him? Then what about all the other details that perfectly match me, like the 8-pack abs? A net worth of over $350 million. And being cold to everyone except you? Are those all coincidences too? I secretly admired my young and brilliant boss. But he was too distant. Too unattainable. My philosophy was simple: if I couldn't have him in real life, I'd at least have him in my novel. So, I turned my boss, Adrian Hale, into the classic, domineering CEO in love with me, mixed with the delicate flower who wants to resist but is actually inviting. Writing it was an absolute thrill. By making use of company time for personal projects, I managed to write tens of thousands of words. To be extra cautious, I saved the document under the name, Company Confidential Files, to avoid detection. But who would have thought that Adrian Hale's computer would break down and he'd borrow mine? And then, he pointed at the last sentence of my manuscript. From that day forward, they shared 3 meals a day together. With a completely expressionless face, he looked at me and asked, "So, Company Confidential Files means I'm serving you 3 meals a day?" At that moment, my mind was a complete mess. I wanted to quit on the spot. The bitter taste of regret burned in my throat, piercing straight into my soul. My bank account was empty, and my hands trembled as I tried to explain, but I had no idea what to say. I could tell Adrian Hale was at a loss for words too. He paused for a moment before gritting his teeth and saying, "Your work is truly a masterpiece in the literary world." If it weren't for the sheer amount of murderous intent radiating from him, I might have actually nodded in agreement. In the novel, I was an innocent, pure-hearted, and slightly clueless beauty. Meanwhile, Adrian Hale was a possessive maniac who forcefully took me, from the desk to the floor to ceiling windows. The novel's plot was incredibly detailed. Boss, if I say I was just temporarily foolish and didn't mean anything by it, would you believe me? Ha, what do you think? Clearly, I was asking the wrong question. So, as long as I walk out of Adrian Hale's office with my laptop, everything will be over? I was convinced by my own genius. But the moment I returned to my desk, I felt like I was sitting on hot coals. I could not stay in this company for even one more second. I wanted to take time off and let loose. After much hesitation, I stormed into Adrian Hale's office. To set the mood, I even applied a thick layer of foundation. "Boss, I suddenly feel unwell. I'd like to take the day off." I fake coughed twice and was just about to weakly lean on a chair when, "Go wash your face. You'll probably be cured after that." My hands went limp. Before I could even sit down properly, I collapsed onto the floor with a loud thud. "How did you know?" I raised my hand, my eyes welling up with tears. He let out a cold chuckle. "Your foundation is cracking." I thought I was a mastermind, undefeated in every scheme. Yet today, I was utterly defeated by this damn male lead. Frustrated, I tried again. "Can I at least take half a day off? If you don't want to join the team dinner, that's fine. I'll approve it." Wait, what did he just say? Company dinner? Every single one of these events was personally funded by Adrian Hale, and they were always extravagant. If I didn't go, where else could I eat king crab for free? This was bad. This boss really wasn't giving me any chance to escape. Dinner party? What dinner party? I love being with my colleagues at all times. He remained unfazed. "Oh, so you're feeling better now?" I immediately straightened up, struck a confident pose, and flexed my barely visible biceps. Confidence, beauty, fearlessness. I exercise regularly. I'm fit and strong. A little sickness is nothing. As my tiny belly peeked out, I awkwardly pulled my shirt down. He chuckled coldly. "Then it must be really tough for you, to be sick and still have to eat with your colleagues." I put on my most understanding look. "Don't say that, boss. I wouldn't want my colleagues to feel pressured because of me." After a moment of silence, one word came out of Adrian Hale's mouth. "Scram." I was completely stunned. Using my signature move, I bolted out of there like my life depended on it. Anyone who witnessed this humiliating scene would surely feel heartbroken for me, right? At the company dinner, I deliberately chose a seat far away from Adrian Hale, settling next to Amelia Earhart, our administrative assistant with long, fair legs. As a shameless admirer of beauty, I could never resist sneaking a few extra glances. Amelia, tell me, why do you think Boss Hale has been single for so long? Do you think he has some kind of illness? Otherwise, how could he stay so cold toward the office beauty, me? She frantically whispered back, keep your voice down. If you get fired for badmouthing the boss, don't blame me. I instantly shut up. I hadn't just badmouthed him, I had turned it into a novel and let him read it. I craned my neck to search for Adrian Hale, hoping to confirm that he hadn't overheard us. But no matter how hard I looked, I couldn't find him. To ease my growing anxiety, I started making small, restless movements, subconsciously reaching out to tap the person beside me. But the moment my fingers touched something firm, I froze. Muscles? I glanced down. Long legs, but why were they wearing dress pants? This fabric looked familiar. Taking a deep breath, my gaze slowly traveled upward. And sure enough, Adrian Hale was staring at me, expressionless. I immediately plastered on a charming smile, my eyes full of earnest sincerity. Boss, if I say I didn't mean it just now, will you believe me? His voice was calm, yet dangerous. What do you think? I wanted to cry. How'd I prove I'm not a pervert? Just then, he leaned in close to my ear and murmured in a deep voice. After all, I believe this exact scene was in your novel. Wasn't it? A prior record? So now, everything I did seemed reasonable? I immediately straightened up and put on a serious face. What are you talking about? Boss, don't slander me like that. I'm from a good, decent family. Adrian Hale's lips curled slightly. Oh, you don't remember? Would you like me to read a passage to refresh your memory? My recollection is quite excellent. No need, I quickly replied, my voice weak. Forget it, just forget it. For the rest of the dinner, I sulked in silence, channeling my sorrow into food. And because of my recklessness, I kept downing glass after glass as self-punishment. Until I got drunk. With alcohol clouding my mind, my hidden poetic soul suddenly burst to life. I decided to recite poetry for Boss Hale. My colleagues, horrified that I might offend him, desperately tried to stop me. But how could I back down? Raising my glass high, I passionately recited, you work hard, I work hard. Boss Hale this year is changing his BTH. Countless pleading eyes turned to me. But I felt no fear. 3 mountains. 4 rivers, desolate lands, Boss Hale, please marry. I pretended to stumble toward him, aiming for a dramatic fall into his arms. But, I missed. Realizing my plan had failed, I decided to play dead, closing my eyes and pretending to pass out. Whatever, life is too short. But pretending to sleep turned into actually sleeping. When I woke up, the room was quiet. Thank God, everyone must have gone home. No one would know how humiliating I had been. I yawned, stretching lazily as if I had just been rudely awakened. But when I opened my eyes, I was face to face with Adrian Hale. Shock and embarrassment crashed down on me at once. He raised an eyebrow and casually clapped his hands. As expected from someone in excellent health, not only did you recover from your illness fast, but you also sobered up quickly. This evil capitalist, he was definitely mocking me. Gone was my earlier bravado. I awkwardly smiled. Boss Hale, why are you still here? I was afraid you'd choke on your own vomit and die. I hid my hands behind my back, quietly reaching for my wallet. In that case, I really owe you one. His tone remained icy. But judging by how loud your snoring was earlier, I don't think suffocation was ever a real concern. We locked eyes. Then, at the exact same moment, we both burst into laughter. Adrian Hale's smile was full of mischief. As for mine, it was the awkward, forced smile of someone trying to maintain their dignity. Spotting the door and calculating my best escape route, I bolted, afraid Adrian Hale might chase after me. I ran for my life. I didn't even wait for the elevator. I sprinted down 10 flights of stairs at full speed. But I had overestimated my stamina. By the time I reached the ground floor, I was clinging to the wall, struggling to support my wobbly legs while gasping for breath. Ting! The elevator doors slowly slid open. Inside stood a tall, refined man, exuding an icy elegance, as if he had just stepped out of a novel. Indeed, the kind of man who could make my heart race. But the moment he opened his mouth, he ruined it all. Running so fast. Were you planning to get your cardio in on the stairs? Tisk, tisk. Such commendable self-discipline. Bracing one hand against the wall, I forced myself to stand naturally and responded. Exactly. Exercise is health. And health is wealth. Adrian Hale crossed his arms and seriously said. Then I won't bother giving you a ride home. You can run back yourself. I gritted my teeth. Fine. He leisurely walked out the door. The moment he turned away, I dropped the act, my body sagging in exhaustion. But suddenly, he turned back. Oh, by the way. My mouth was still open from panting. I immediately snapped upright, standing at full attention. Boss Hale, any instructions? He smirked. Oh, nothing. I just felt like turning around. Boss of the elite? More like a demon straight from hell. Yesterday's embarrassment was behind me. But today's humiliation was far from over. With renewed determination, I headed to work, only to immediately regret it. While waiting at a red light on a rented electric bike, I accidentally locked eyes with Adrian Hale, inside his $1 million luxury car. The gap between our social statuses had never felt so stark. So much for a good day. Staring at the sleek, polished vehicle, my writer's brain drifted to a classic novel scenario, the ruthless CEO and his runaway wife. In the books, the CEO would lower his window and coldly say, "Run again. And I'll break your legs." But Adrian Hale was different. He lowered the window, gave me a pitying look, and said, "You're about to pop the tires on that thing." For a moment, I had the illusion of being a starving peasant, scolded by a wealthy landowner for eating too much grain. Rebelling instantly, I pretended not to hear him and sped off the moment the light turned green. If my bike had a pedal, I would have stomped on it hard enough to make it smoke, just to prove to this capitalist villain that even though I acted obedient at work, deep down, I was a free spirit. But when I finally reached the office, I had to bitterly face a cruel reality. 4 wheels are faster than 2. By the time I stepped inside, Adrian Hale was already at his desk, working. Damn it. Before I could even catch my breath, he called me into his office. I braced myself for mockery. But instead, he tossed an invitation onto the desk. "Get ready, you're coming with me tonight." I peeked at it. It was for a couple's dinner gala. Fancy. Was this a ticket to high society? Who knew? After attending, I might be able to write a perfect elite family novel. At the event, I claimed I was there for creative inspiration, but in reality, I was stuffing my face. "Boss, this dessert is amazing. Boss, this dish is incredible too. Can we order this for office tea breaks?" I chattered nonstop, clinging to Adrian Hale as I enthusiastically reviewed every course. Just then, a glamorous couple appeared in front of us. I couldn't help but admire them. So this is what a well-maintained elite lady looks like. The elegant woman glanced at me, then hesitantly asked Adrian Hale. "And this is?" Without hesitation, he introduced me. "Elliot Vaughn, my temporary assistant." Then he turned to me and casually said, "This is my mother, and her 6th husband." What? 6th? Oh my God. Was every elite family this extravagant? The two of them exchanged a few polite words before parting ways. Adrian Hale gave me a cold look and said, "This is what real high society looks like." And just like that, my illusions shattered. My dreams crumbled. How was I supposed to write elite family novels after this? After the party ended, Adrian Hale said he would take me somewhere and asked for my help with something along the way. Mode of transportation: walking. I didn't dare refuse, nor did I dare ask too many questions. But after just a few minutes, I groaned. "How much longer? My feet are killing me." Unexpectedly, Adrian Hale slightly bent down and said, "Hop on." I was stunned. Was he offering to carry me on his back? feeling both honored and panicked. I frantically waved my hands. No need. Boss. I wouldn't dare. He remained unfazed. It's fine. Just get on. Cautiously, I rose on my toes, wrapping my arms around his shoulders from behind. But suddenly, something felt off. And then, I saw what he was doing in front of him. He was scanning a QR code for a public electric scooter. A bad premonition washed over me. Sure enough, he said calmly, I told you to get on the scooter. Why are you holding onto me? Huh? Where the hell did this public scooter come from? Wait, no, that's not the point. I stared at him in disbelief. Boss, you're seriously this frugal? He nodded in satisfaction. Of course. I was speechless. Dressed in my fancy attire. Shouldn't I be riding in a Bentley? Sipping champagne? Yet, reality was this. Are you getting on or not? If not, I'm canceling the ride. I glared at him for a long moment before finally swallowing my pride. I'm getting on. Can't I just get on already? My feet are already scraped raw. Better a messed up ride than no ride at all. I can't keep walking forever. The moment I sat on the scooter, Adrian Hale said, test out the motor for me. I thought I misheard him. Otherwise, why would I be hearing something this ridiculous? He explained slowly. Our company is one of the key battery suppliers for this scooter model. This is the latest batch of batteries we just delivered. I got it now. I totally got it. He wanted me to be a test subject for his product. No wonder he had looked so sympathetic toward this scooter back at the red light the other day. Drive around this area and check its real-world performance. Excuse me, what? Does this sound like something a normal person would say? Oh, you get to be the genius CEO. You get to sit back and relax. While I just ride around alone on this electric scooter? Why don't you test it yourself? I was so outraged. My words stumbled over each other. My brain was fried from sheer frustration. He, of course, remained indifferent. I don't know how to ride an electric scooter. Excuse me, what? How did he have the audacity to say that with a straight face? A CEO who doesn't know how to ride an electric scooter. How can you even be a CEO if you don't know how to ride one? Someone hold me back. I'm about to lose my mind. But then, on second thought, he wasn't exactly wrong. CEOs drive Ferraris with one hand. The odds of a CEO riding a public electric scooter were probably lower than my odds of ever getting rich in this lifetime. Suddenly, I had an epiphany. I finally understood why Adrian Hale had no problem admitting that he couldn't ride a scooter. Because he held my weaknesses in his hands too. What a calculating man. Between the two of us, we could probably plot 800 different schemes. Yet somehow, he would still end up at 801, while I would be at -1. As I begrudgingly rode the scooter around in circles, I noticed a suspicious figure standing by the roadside. Looking closer, I realized all the public scooters in the area had their seats slashed open. Every single one. How shameless. Vandalizing public property like this? Even someone as morally flexible as me thought this was too much. Adrian Hale and I followed the vandal as he tried to sneak away. In the end, we caught him red-handed, still enthusiastically slashing scooter seats. The moment he noticed us, he took off running at full speed. Stop right there. Before I even finished speaking, I threw down the scooter, grabbed my shoes in hand, and took off running. If I wasn't getting a raise for chasing down criminals like this, it would be unacceptable. I sprinted at full speed. And eventually, Adrian Hale and I managed to catch the culprit and escort him to the police station. To my shock, the shameless vandal was actually the director of a rival electric scooter company. I always thought corporate wars were about financial manipulation, poaching top CEOs, and capital investments. Turns out, it's just slashing competitors' scooter seats. This was truly eye-opening. The drunken director was still belligerent inside the police station. Why the hell are you two meddling in other people's business? Furious, I stormed forward, ready to let him have it. But Adrian Hale held me back. Don't bother with the drunk, he said. But I was seeing red. Shoving Adrian aside. You son of a... Beep beep beep. The moment I opened my mouth, you could tell I was a seasoned pro. I wrapped up my verbal assault with a classic line. If I don't beat you so badly that your own parents don't recognize you, I won't be called Elliot Vaughn. I glanced at Adrian Hale. He stood there, completely dumbfounded, his face frozen in a clueless expression. After going off for a solid minute, I put my hands on my hips, catching my breath. Boss, why are you just standing behind me? Shouldn't we be fighting the enemy together? Adrian Hale blinked. Mainly, I don't know how to curse people out like you do. It had been an epic rant, a non-repetitive, eloquent tirade, finished with a powerful closing line. But thanks to this, my true identity as the master of verbal warfare had been exposed once again. Desperate to salvage my image, I straightened up. Don't talk nonsense. I'm just a delicate, innocent little flower. If you say otherwise, I'll be mad. Adrian Hale, stone-faced. Yes, you're a delicate little flower. By the time we left the police station, dawn had already broken. Adrian Hale suggested, "It's late. Instead of going home, just stay at a hotel for the night." My eyes lit up. Is the company covering it? A hotel room costs a few $100 a night, if I had to pay myself. I'd rather just take a scooter home and sleep there. No, he replied. I'm paying for it. Just as I was gloating, thinking I had finally gotten a freebie from Adrian Hale, he casually told the receptionist. "One room, please." I whipped around. Boss, I know I write certain things in my stories, but I'm not that kind of man. Just because my novel characters are passionate, doesn't mean I am. I have self-respect. I will not be swayed just because Adrian Hale is devastatingly handsome. The receptionist stared at us in confusion. Adrian Hale's ears turned red, and with a gritted expression, he pulled out a second room key. In my head, a warning siren blared. Elliot Vaughn, could you maybe think like a normal person for once? I shrank back, realizing I had overreacted. How was I supposed to know Adrian Hale didn't live at home and stayed in hotels instead? I was wrong. I had jumped to conclusions. Quietly, I reached out, tugging at a corner of his suit jacket. My voice buttery smooth. Boss, you wouldn't hold a grudge against a lowly employee like me, right? Without hesitation, he stepped back 2 paces, pulling his suit out of my grasp. Of course not. Just, let's talk things out next time. No more yelling at people. Crap. I had gone too hard at the police station. He was traumatized. Now, how was I supposed to restore my image? The hotel bed was big, soft, and ridiculously comfortable. I wanted to roll around in it just to savor the luxury. But after everything tonight, I was exhausted. No matter how much I racked my brain, I just couldn't bring myself to write another spicy scene. I had originally planned to write a dominant CEO forcing his love. But the image of Adrian Hale standing dumbfounded at the police station kept popping into my head. I was doomed. The cold, aloof CEO persona I had built for him? Shattered. My entire writing career? Also shattered. I lay there, defeated, until a brilliant idea struck me. Excited, I rushed into Adrian Hale's office the next morning. Boss, I'm writing a new novel. The moment he looked at me, I knew exactly what he was thinking. But it didn't matter. This time, I was sure my novel would be a hit. I vowed, this time, I won't write any driving scenes. I'm writing a romance novel. Adrian Hale raised a brow. But still using me as inspiration? I nodded enthusiastically. Yes, but this time, the CEO isn't dominant, he's the one under my control. In public, he's an elegant, untouchable CEO, but in private, he's a devoted husband who spoils his wife endlessly. The arrogant CEO loves me. Afraid he might reject the idea, I quickly added, and this time, I won't use real names. I'll use a pen name. Adrian Hale paused for a moment. Then, with his usual calm indifference, he said, do what you want, but you'll need my authorization. I've prepared everything carefully. I pulled out the pre-drafted contract from behind my back. Adrian Hale looked at me. You really came prepared, huh? I grinned sheepishly and handed him a pen. He took the contract, uncapped the pen, and, at least in my eyes, moved excruciatingly slowly. After much effort, He finally wrote, Hale, then paused. Grinding my teeth, I patiently asked, what now, boss? Adrian Hale looked up. Next week, the company is hosting an internal sports event. Are you participating? I was too focused on writing and making money. So I immediately refused. I don't have time. Adrian Hale mumbled. How do you spell Adrian again? Let me think. Could his acting be any worse? Fine. No matter how busy I was. Exercise was important. I changed my tune instantly. All right. I'll participate. Finally, he wrote, Adrian. I let out a sigh of relief, only for him to continue. Make sure to take some time to test the battery's real-world performance too. I was speechless. All I could do was give him a thumbs up. In the prime of my youth, I had encountered the most ruthless capitalist of all time. Rosa Parks signed me up for the long-distance run in the company's sports event without asking. After seeing you chase down that guy last time, I figured you had a natural talent for running. It'd be a shame to waste it. I huffed. HMPH. I have a talent for writing too. How come you never compliment that? Was it because I wrote him as a dominant, possessive, borderline psychotic CEO? I gritted my teeth. What's the prize? If someone else wins first place, they get the newest iPhone. I immediately narrowed my eyes. Which means, if I win, the prize is different? Adrian Hale smiled mysteriously. I eagerly asked, so what do I get? A 3-day boyfriend experience pass. So you can gather material for your stories. I was stunned. Where did this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity come from? Even the wishing pond turtle wouldn't dare to ask for something this good. Wait, if I negotiated for a 7-day pass, wouldn't I be able to boss Hale around however I wanted? No, that wasn't the point. Wouldn't this be the perfect chance to gather first-hand experience for my next dominant CEO romance novel? Adrian Hale was truly my guardian angel, the holy patron saint of my writing career. I grinned like an idiot. This man, he had successfully piqued my interest. With enough determination, anything was possible. And so, I easily secured a 7-day boyfriend experience pass. Day 1 of being the CEO's secret girlfriend begins. I was nervous, almost tempted to dress like a peacock for work. Sneaking into his office, I asked, Boss Hale, do you notice anything different about me today? I wanted to test my high-quality, temporary boyfriend and see how he'd answer this ultimate trap question. I had barely smiled shyly for 3 seconds before I got a bucket of cold water thrown on me. I already noticed this morning when you couldn't swipe your card to get in. So, he had seen me panicking like a gorilla, jumping up and down at the entrance because the face recognition system wouldn't register me? And I even had the nerve to ask, why'd I see 2 people here? Turns out, I had split into 2 from embarrassment. I quickly reminded myself, 7-day relationship rule. 7 days later, we break up. I can't actually marry this man. I had already planned 3 full days of different romantic scenarios. But the next day, Adrian Hale left for a 4-day business trip. I couldn't even write a single word about our relationship. In the end, watching other people date was still more fun than dating myself. I randomly picked a bar and decided to drown my sorrows in a few drinks. As it turned out, the lead singer at the bar was none other than my pathetic ex-boyfriend. I'll admit it, when I was younger, I had a thing for bad boys. The kind who could strum a guitar, sang terribly, barely scraped by in school, and talked like a street punk. But now, how had Katniss Everdeen, once my ideal type, turned into this? And to make matters worse, Katniss Everdeen recognized me and actually came over to say hi. I wasn't interested. My responses were lukewarm at best. Until he said, "It's been so many years, are you still single?" Damn it, he had a point. Someone who's been protected by a lion could never go back to liking a stray dog. I was stunned. This guy really had the nerve. Even in my novels, I wouldn't dare write something this outrageous. Then he went even further. So, do you want to get back together? Oh, please. I was blind back then, not permanently disabled. Back when we dated, he ran back to his ex to patch things up. Now, he was running back to me? I'd have to be insane to agree. I smiled politely. No need. I like someone else now. Finally, the butterfly had emerged from the chrysalis. You are both a blessing and a curse. What am I supposed to do with you? 4 years of no contact. And the first thing he does is flirt? I've gone in circles, and I realized, the person I love most is still you. I laughed dryly. My urge to curse him out was reaching its absolute limit. I stood up to leave, but Katniss Everdeen chased after me. I was annoyed. Are you sick or something? And just as I finished speaking, an arm wrapped around my shoulder. It was Adrian Hale, my trial boyfriend, whom I hadn't seen in 4 days. Elliot Vaughn, do you like this place? He smiled. I'll buy it for you. I was stunned. At that moment, the arrogant, overbearing CEO from my imagination finally had a real face. And it was definitely not Katniss Everdeen, the kind of dramatic, pitiful loser who relied on flowery words but had zero talent. Ah, no need. I don't actually like this place that much. Just like that, all the pent-up frustration from the past 4 days disappeared in an instant. Katniss Everdeen frowned. Who is this guy, acting all high and mighty? I was speechless. Was he blind? My boss obviously had the aura of someone born into wealth. Adrian Hale tilted his head slightly. Do you want to be unemployed? His voice was calm, but the cold authority behind it made Katniss Everdeen freeze on the spot. Clearly, he had enough self-preservation not to piss Adrian off. But he still had to get on my nerves. If you let her go now, you might regret it for the rest of your life. Get lost. I cursed him out and sent him on his way. Adrian Hale smirked. Ran into an old friend? More like an ex. You used to have this kind of taste? I sighed. Youth. When you're young and don't know the value of a CEO. You mistake useless men for treasure. A flicker of amusement flashed in Adrian Hale's eyes. You're getting better at flattery. But, I think this time, you actually mean it. I formed a heart shape with my hands. Adrian turned away, unable to watch. Curious, I asked, how did you know I was here? He smirked, then lifted his glass in a certain direction. I followed his gaze, and saw Adrian's mother raising her own glass in return. Sitting beside her was her 7th husband. This ultra-rich family was seriously something else. The next day, I went to work as usual. The receptionist told me someone had delivered flowers for me. Fake roses, blue-black, wrapped in black paper. So Adrian Hale can be romantic after all. Sometimes, he even surprises me with little gifts. It's just that, his taste needs serious improvement. A classic straight man's aesthetic. Fake blue roses. Let's be real. They're just dyed fresh roses. The dye stained my hands and had a strong, awful smell. I had no idea where to put them. But since Adrian Hale was the one who sent them, I decided to just accept it. After work, I happily carried the bouquet with me and got into the passenger seat of Adrian Hale's car. I didn't expect him to frown and say, "You actually don't mind how ugly those flowers are? Didn't you send them to me?" My smile froze instantly. Then, as the anger started boiling, I quickly pulled out the card. I once loved you, but now I must protect someone else. If you've fallen out of love, just say so. What's with the fake deep, sentimental nonsense? Trying to get attention or something? Give it back. Take it back. I was fuming. Meanwhile, Adrian Hale just kept staring at me before suddenly asking, "So, who sent them?" Oh, crap. My ex-boyfriend sent me flowers. And I happily accepted them? And now my trial boyfriend had caught me red-handed? I scrambled to explain. "Boss, I only smiled because I thought they were from you. I was certain I had expressed my strong survival instincts well enough." But under Adrian Hale's unwavering, piercing gaze, I lost miserably. "Fine, it was my ex. And you even carried them around?" Reality hit me like a slap. I snapped out of it, immediately jumped out of the car, and threw that burning hot potato into the trash can. When I got back, I noticed a bouquet of pale blue roses sitting on my seat. If there's doubt, no explanation can fix it. If there's no doubt, no explanation is needed. Comparison truly is the root of all pain. My anger faded, but I was now feeling a little conflicted. How do you even have such good taste? What? And just like that, I figured it out. I clenched my teeth. So, my ex planted the tree. And now I get to enjoy the shade. Huh? Very well. Day 5 of our relationship. And we'd already reached the argument, Cold War, and silent treatment stage. The car was now dead silent. Then, I snapped back to reality. If regret medicine existed, I would have devoured 2 giant bowls of it while sobbing. I had been too caught up in romance. Too deeply immersed. I completely forgot that he was my boss. Not my actual boyfriend. The next day, I stared at the fake blue rose bouquet on my desk. Lost in thought. I only wanted to use my boyfriend status to act spoiled for a bit, not outright reject his taste. To show appreciation for our courageous good deed, the CEO of the electric car company personally came to our office to present us with a banner of commendation. Of all times, he just had to pick the last day of my secret relationship with Adrian Hale. Inside the office, my colleagues stared blankly at the 2 banners we received, then exchanged looks. I heard they caught him in the middle of the night. So, President Hale and Elliot Vaughn? I always thought there was something off about the way those 2 looked at each other. I leaned in, forcing a polite but awkward smile. Gossiping behind my back is one thing, but doing it right in front of me? They pushed me aside, completely ignoring me as they continued to speculate. I'm telling you, I saw it with my own eyes last time. When President Hale realized he couldn't win, he chose to join instead. I perked up my ears and listened to their analysis. Just as the story was reaching the climax, the voice suddenly cut off. I hated when people did that. When I urged them to continue, they just stammered awkwardly. So, what is President Hale's big secret? They exchanged glances and made exaggerated expressions. But I still didn't get it. Then, they dispersed, leaving me feeling utterly frustrated. If you want to know, just ask me directly. Suddenly, I realized Adrian Hale was standing right behind me. I jumped in shock, my body tilting to the side, about to fall, and just like a scene straight out of a romance novel, Adrian Hale caught me by the waist. Man, don't push me into falling for you. The colleagues who had just scattered were now watching from a distance. I immediately shoved Adrian Hale away and loudly declared, "Ah, thank you, Boss Hale." Adrian Hale raised an eyebrow. Why so formal with me? His tone was ambiguous, making my heart nearly stop. Of course I have to thank you. After all, we're not close or anything. I made sure to stress the words, not close. Though I may have been a little too obvious. But Adrian Hale didn't seem to get it at all. He looked genuinely confused as he asked, "But aren't we lovers?" From the corner of the room came a chorus of shocked gasps. Oh my God. This wasn't something he should be saying out loud. People eventually die, but they should never die from embarrassment in front of their colleagues. Panicked, I dragged Adrian Hale into the stairwell. Isn't today the last day of our trial relationship? Why would you say that? Adrian Hale tilted his head, smirking. Who told you it was expiring? Didn't you say you were sincere about me? When did I? Wait, did I? Oh, right. That night at the bar? I thought Adrian Hale wouldn't take it seriously. But he actually remembered every word. He took a step forward. Then another. Until my back hit the wall. Elliot Vaughn, you weren't just messing with me. Were you? What do I do? How did things end up like this? I originally thought this trial boyfriend pass would let me skip the messy breakup stage. That it would just end automatically when it expired. But now, it didn't seem like that was the case at all. Elliot Vaughn, did I say something wrong? Adrian Hale's eyes were like a speeding car. I had no way to dodge. No way to resist. I crumbled. And no, nothing wrong. So that means, we're still lovers? Dazed, I nodded. Later on, I started to suspect that I had been tricked into dating him. But I had no proof. And by the time I realized it, Adrian Hale had already been deceiving me for years. Extra story. Recently, a new intern joined the company. One day, I caught her secretly reading a novel. The title was unbelievably cringy. Something like Captive Love. The CEO is obsessed with me. I asked sincerely, is it any good? She jolted in shock. And not really. I mean, it's amazing. Then, she stammered, Mr. Elliot, I'm so sorry. I won't read during work hours again. That expression, exactly like mine when Adrian Hale caught me back then. I was writing my novel at the time and had to apologize to him. Talk about déjà vu. After a long day of work, sneaking in a little reading shouldn't be a big deal. The intern looked at me with gratitude, then eagerly recommended the book. But really, Mr. Elliot, your novel is incredible. I shook my head disapprovingly. I've read it. The male lead in this story. Tisk tisk tisk. I think he's amazing. Gentle, thoughtful, completely devoted to his lover. And I heard the author based him on a real person. Another poor girl about to fall into the trap. No way. I had to pull her back before it was too late. Let me tell you, the real inspiration behind this male lead. Suddenly, a familiar cough sounded from behind me. I clenched my teeth and quickly changed my tune. Is way better than how he's portrayed in the book. Talking behind my back again? I blinked innocently, turning around and cooed sweetly. Boss Hale Tilda. A little troublemaker? A little schemer? None of those were enough to describe the little demon that was me. Elliot Vaughn, if you don't get going now, our son will be out of school soon. I instantly perked up. I'm going. The intern suddenly gasped, covering her mouth in shock. Elliot Vaughn. Mr. Elliot, the author of this novel is also named Elliot Vaughn. I immediately feigned surprise. Oh, really? What a coincidence. Hee. Surprised? You didn't see that coming. Huh? Yep. It's me. Blank. Blank. The car didn't head toward our son's preschool. I frowned. Where are we going? Aren't we picking up our kid? My mom's picking him up. My mother-in-law's 8th husband. I hadn't even met him yet. As for the infamous mother-in-law conflicts everyone talked about, never happened to me, because I was obsessed with romance. And my mother-in-law? She was even more obsessed than I was. She was always busy falling in love, too busy to care about anything else. Then where are we going? Back to where it all began. To enjoy some alone time. My face instantly heated up. I had to admit, Adrian Hale, as a CEO, was good at everything, even when it came to keeping the spark alive in a long-term marriage. He had it all figured out. But when we got there, I refused to get out of the car no matter what. A row of brand new shared e-bikes lined the sidewalk. What do you mean, back to where it all began? Adrian Hale replied with a completely serious expression. Come on, give it a try. The company's been developing a new battery. Let's test it out. I was speechless. Ellipsis. Does anyone still want to get married? Does anyone still want to marry into a wealthy family? Because once you do, you'll constantly get dragged into testing electric bikes.